y'all. Welcome to Scrappin with Sheri. I am so excited to be back with you for a virtual crop sketch. I wait every month breathlessly for these sketches to come out so I can see what fun ideas we can do next. And for sketch number 1 today, I'm going to be using the paper pack that came out of the Secret Box number 1 that came out in January. We just opened it in February, but it's called Celestial Delights. And this is going to be a pretty easy sketch. And if you were just using several sheets of paper, it would be super easy. My thing is, I want to use some fronts and backs of some of these papers that came out of the Celestial Delights. So I'm going to be cutting mine a little bit differently in an effort to conserve some paper. I know you don't hear me say that very often, but my plan is to have this paper be this outside edge and the border and this 8x10 in the middle. And so in order to do that, I'm going to have to do a little finagling, but here's how I'm going to do it. So I need to gut this 8x10 section and get that out. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut that part. And to do that, I'm going to put my paper on the 10-inch mark here, but I'm going to use one of my clips and put it at 9 inches because my paper needs to be 8 inches here. There's an inch difference between where the blade cuts and where the housing ends. So I need an inch extra here. So to get an 8, where my blade is going to stop at 8, my clip needs to go at 9. So 10 inches on this side. Let me make sure I've got that measured well. 10 inches on this side. And I'm just going to cut to my 8-inch mark, which is actually with my clip at 9. I'm going to take my clip off and turn my paper. And then basically all I have to do is put this at the 8-inch mark here and set my blade housing down right there where I see that cut mark. I'm setting the white line on the side of my blade there, and I cut, and I've got my 8x10 section out. Now there's another section here that's a 1 inch. So while I've got my paper laying there, I'm just going to go ahead and cut that 1 inch section off as well. I'm going to lay these to the side. And the only other thing I've got to cut is that 9x11. And it really doesn't matter how I do it. I'm not going to be using the back side of this. So I'm going to cut 3 inches off to get my 9. That gives me a good long piece, good wide piece for a border. And then to get my 11, I just need to go to 1 here. So all the pieces are cut. Let's build it. Now I'm going to be building it on a background sheet, on one of my cover sheets from one of my collections. And this is going to be the paper that ties it all together. So I'm going to kind of keep that as this bigger part here. This is going to cover my opening. This will be my border strip down the side. And you see how that paper just pulls it all together. And then this goes here. So how simple is this going to be? Let me tape this down real quick. And then we'll add a few of those embellishments out of that pack. And sketch number 1 will be done. Now I will tell you that in working with this, I went ahead and did this one time, just to make sure that it would work the way I anticipated it would. So to go back and make a page that will face it, I had to really think about the direction of my paper. And if you are trying to make it mirror each other, you're going to have to really think about how to cut it, especially if you're going to be gutting your paper like this in order to use it more effectively. If you're just using random papers and you're covering it all up and making 4 layers right here, it's not a big deal. But I did have to think about the fact that I needed to turn my paper upside down on one side to make it all work out. Now, do I know what I'm going to use on this yet? Absolutely not. But I couldn't wait to play with it. And when I saw this sketch, I immediately thought, oh, let's start flipping these papers around and make it work. So we've got one page already taped down. Let's pull our other one in and see how they look together. So here are my 2 papers side by side for now. This one is the one that matches the sketch exactly. So let's work on it for a second. And as you can see, we've got our bigger area. We've got a frame. We've got a border down this. And then we need another border strip right here. Well, that collection included a few laser cut borders, not a lot of them, but boy, is that one not beautiful. So I'm going to pull my silicone mat and my repositionable tape. And I'm just going to run some tape down through this. I thought about foam squaring this, but this one's kind of movable. It's got a lot of tiny little pieces that I felt like might not hold together very well if I used foam square. So I decided it would be better to tape it as is. And you can see I'm covering a lot of that outside border edge, but it still shows up nicely against what we've got going on there. And then it shows a title and some embellishments here. 3 photos, but I don't know what photos I'll be using, and those photos may or may not be larger than that. I found this embellishment that says, "You are my starshine." I thought that was kind of pretty. So I think I'm just going to add a few foam squares and use that. Actually, a couple of these really large foam squares will be plenty. I don't feel like I need a ton of other embellishments, specifically because I don't know what's going to happen on this page yet. But I like this "You Are My Starshine." It brings in the golds, the blues, all that beautiful stuff. And let's bring in the opposite side and see how we can make it. I'm going to add the border on that opposite side, again using the repositionable tape. And you know, I've been printing my pictures myself and matting them in white, and I think that's going to make such a big difference on this. I've talked to some friends lately. You know, the pre-done pages are gorgeous, but there's just something about having pictures on them that just really makes them pop. And that's why we do this anyway, right? So I've got that. And then I had this one more little word that I thought was really nice, this phenomenal, which I thought about just sitting right down here. It shows up pretty. It's not taking up a lot of space. And that gives us another embellishment opposite. So I'm putting just a couple of foam squares on that. Because it's long, it probably needs one more in the middle. And then I'm just going to set it right here. I've got lots of space for photos on this. And we could do it just like this. We could make our pages look like this, which I think is also really pretty. You got a lot of options with this. So that is sketch number 1 from the virtual crop for February 2025. I hope you enjoyed that, and stay tuned because we'll be doing the other sketches in the coming weeks. Until I see you next time, happy scrapping.